To today's lesson on multiplying and dividing integers. Hopefully by the end of this, you're going to learn how to multiply and divide integers. I personally think it's easier than adding and subtracting integers because all you got to do is multiply and then figure out if the answer is negative or positive. So one way you can think of it before we get into the rules is it's just basically repeated addition and repeated subtraction. So if you were to spend maybe $200 3 weeks in a row, that's basically 3 times a negative 200. So if you would go to old school of going negative 200 plus negative 200 plus negative 200, you should get negative 600. Me personally, I like some shortcuts. 3 times 200 is 600. I have one negative, and you're going to find out what the rules in a moment. But your answer is going to be negative. So let's begin with a couple here. Here's some rules that you might want to get to know, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut that I think is easier. You often hear this in classes, where positive times a positive is a positive. We've always seemed to do that. Negative times a negative is a positive, and this is obviously going to work for division. A negative times a positive is a negative, and a positive times a negative is a negative. You can think of it as, like in your movies, good thing happened to a good person is good. A bad thing happening to that bad character in a movie, I know it's a little demented, but it seems to be good for you. Bad thing happening to a good character in a movie is bad, and a good thing happening to that bad character, the villain, or whoever you consider as bad guy, is bad. So a lot of times people will go with this, but I find the pattern there that I find a little bit easier. I call it nope. All you got to do is count the number of negatives. I don't care how many positives are, it's the number of negatives in the multiplication division that's going to determine your answer. So in this one, no negatives, so it's going to stay positive. 2 negatives, which is even, so it's going to be positive. Here and here are both 1, and that's odd. So let's see how you do with some of these easier questions right here. If I start off with this question, negative 6 times 4, since they are next to each other, that means multiplication. So I do know that the answer is going to be 24, but I'm not sure if it's negative or positive. I only notice one negative, so my answer has to be negative. The next one, I know that 8 times 12 is, I think, 96, and sometimes I do make some multiplication errors. I got to decide, is it positive or negative? Well, a bad thing happened to a bad person is good in the movies, and there's 2 negatives, so they're going to cancel each other out, so it's going to be a positive. So I don't usually put a plus sign in front of it. Okay, next one, when they're on top of each other, this is division. That's a negative 18 divided by 2, and that is, well, let me think. I know it's 9. Is it positive or negative? Yep, you're probably right. You got just one negative, so the answer is negative. Try this one real quick. Yep, you should have 5. Why? Because the 2 negatives are going to cancel each other out. Now, you'd be surprised that some people will get this question wrong. Take a moment, see what you think. These are the answers that Gazoo has. Negative 8, 8, negative 6, and 6. You'd be surprised. A lot of people will give me C. The correct answer is A, because actuality, you are doing is a negative 2 times negative 2 times another negative 2. Now there's 3 negatives. That's an odd number. So that answer is negative. And also on top of that, 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So count the number of negatives as we did in here. There's 1, so it's odd, that's negative. 2, it's even, it's positive. Here's another question that is very easy, but you'd be surprised when people start that they get it wrong.
Mrs. Rossi, could you contact the main office, please? Mrs. Rossi, please call the main office.
Sorry about that. Now you know who needs to be in the office. This question right here is negative 10 to the 4th power. Quite often I get an answer of negative 40. There's an even number, so it's positive, so I can eliminate A and C. So the answer is D. Hope this was helpful. And basically, here's a shortcut. Just count the number of negatives in the multiplication. That's going to determine your answer.